Let's work on a Dig Dug arcade machine. Before we plug this thing in and cause a fire, let's take a look at all our components and see if we've got any blown fuses or any obvious damage. All 5 fuses down here in the power brick test good. The AR2 regulator over here doesn't have any visible damage. Usually when this thing goes bad, either this resistor right here or this one over here is crunchy, but they both seem fine. PCB looks okay. We've got a G07 monitor chassis. Both the fuses on it are good. So I said let's plug this thing in and see what happens. After making the slightest of adjustments, we have a good looking monitor on this Dig Dug. So for now, we need to do some preventative maintenance. Because while this game works, because I just played it and all the controls are good, I can't sell it like this. I got a reputation. There are 4 main components to this machine, and here's what we're going to do for preventative maintenance. Here on the power brick, this large filter capacitor is original, so we're going to replace it. It's called the Big Blue, and I replace it on every old Atari machine. That capacitor is 40 plus years old and everything goes through it, so we need to make sure it's new and kicking out good voltages so that it doesn't do wonky things to all the other parts. The AR2 I usually leave alone. I will pull it out and reflow the headers on the connector pins, but I don't recap it and I don't replace the 5-volt regulator because it's unnecessary. With the PCB, we'll pretty much just take it out, check all the legs on the chips and see if anything's corroded. They shouldn't be because it's working, but I'm just going to give it a nice visual inspection, and then whenever I put it back in, I'll put in zip ties to keep this connector from coming off. And then here on the monitor, we're going to remove this chassis and recap it. Once the preventative maintenance is done, we'll worry about cosmetics. We'll replace the marquee light and the coin door lights. This came without a bezel, but I did order a paper one. I'm going to look and see if I've got any glass that'll fit, but I probably don't, in which case I will cut a piece of plexi and mount the bezel to that. The left side side art is in pretty decent shape. There's a couple spots here on the edges that I could do a little cleanup on, but as a whole, it's pretty good. Just needs to be cleaned. The right side, however, has this weird silver paint that looks like it was kind of thrown at it. And I hope whoever did this went into the woods and was never heard from again. But I think that paint should be removable and the side art should be okay. So we'll use a little citrus strip or some paint thinner and see if we can't get that out. Let's get started. That's one down. Now we'll remove the chassis to rebuild it. We need to properly discharge it first, so we have our flathead screwdriver, alligator clip, connected to the frame. We stick it underneath here. Here the discharge. Do it again. And now it is safe to remove this flyback anode. We got the chassis on the bench. Let's install a cap kit. And done. Let's get it reinstalled. Beautiful. Now we need to cut a piece of plexi and install the bezel. Not perfect, but it's a massive improvement. Now we replace the marquee light. And let's put in some new locks and coin lights. And after all of that, we've got a Dig Dug. Let it sit for about 4 to 8 hours to make sure that the monitor can handle the stress of new parts, and it'll be available for sale. Follow me to see what I fix next.